In this video, we're going to go over the individual exercise in Chapter 5, 3-5, creating a template. And with this one, we're going to create a urban template with curb and gutter and sidewalk and even a berm on one side. And the typical that we're going to look at to help us create this template is on page 5-38. It's the curb and gutter one listed at the top on that page. Now, the first thing we need to do is we need to open up our ITL, and so we're going to go ahead and go to our task. And we're going to go down to corridor modeling under civil tools, and then we're going to go into create template. And I was in this template library earlier in this session of Microstation, so it remembered that I was in the J2P0200 ITL. And now if yours is still pointing to MODOT, you need to do a file open and open up the ITL file in data 5. Now the first thing it wants me to do is create a new template under the Road1 folder. So I'm going to do a right click on Road1, do a new template, and I'm going to call this one Road1 2-lane urban. And when you create a new template, it just gives you a blank screen here, so it allows you to drag out components and end conditions and create a template. Now, one thing I want to do before I start dragging that stuff out is I want to check my dynamic settings so that my step is set to 0.1, and also I'm going to apply affixes. And what affixes will do is it will, if we look under options, add in the LT underscore for anything on the left side of my template, and add an RT underscore to any point on the right side of my template. So we're good with those settings. We're going to hit OK to that. And on page 5-40, you'll see a chart of components that need to go on the left side and right side, and then also end conditions for the left and right side, and then we have some notes down at the bottom. So let's take a quick look at those notes. Now, the concrete pavement with ag base is located in the following location, so it kind of tells you where that piece of pavement is. We want to merge the vertical lines of any common component, so we'll take care of that. We want to make the concrete thickness 9 3/4 inches deep before adding the curb and gutter type B. And so we need to also check priorities and end conditions, and we need to save the template library at the end. Okay, so let's go ahead and start doing that. And so I'm going to dig into the MODOT component section here. I'm going to go down to pavement new, and we're going to do pavement only, and we're going to go to concrete, and we're going to select concrete pavement. And once we're actually, the one we want is, let's do that again. We're going to go to pavement new. We're going to go to pavement only. We're going to go to concrete, and we're going to drag out or select the concrete pavement with ag base. Concrete pavement with ag base, this one right here. And so I'm going to drag that one out, and you'll notice I'm only bringing out the right side, but if you right click, and as soon as you right click, you can let go of your mouse, and you can pick any of these options. We're going to say mirror. We're going to do both sides, and you can also zoom at the same time. And I want to try to get it right on that origin point right there. So I'm going to left click and place it, and then I'm going to do a fit view. And so that's our pavement portion of our template. Now it says before we add the curb and gutter in the notes to change the thickness of the pavement. And so we would have to go in and basically edit this point, and this point, and change it to 9 3/4. Now, all three of these points, I'm just going to click on one of these. All three of these points have a label out there, which is a parametric constraint label. And since those 3 points have a parametric constraint label, the same parametric constraint label, we can actually go into active template, go under parametric constraints, and look for that label, which was called pavement surface concrete depth. And if I click on that, you'll see all 3 points highlight. And if I edit that point, or edit that parametric constraint, I can add in that depth. And that depth needs to be a negative 0.8125. And so once I have that in there, I can go ahead and hit apply, and you can see all my pavement gets deeper. Alright, so that's set. I'm going to go back to my library, and now I'm ready to drag out that curb and gutter type B with ag base. And so I'm going to close down my pavement new. I'm going to go up to curb and gutter. I'm going to slide down to my curb and gutter with ag base. Again, I'm going to drag it out, and I'm going to just go ahead and snap it onto the end of the pavement and let go. And when you do that, any common point will basically get merged together. So before I had a point for the pavement and a point for the curb and gutter, but now I only have one point there. And I can show you this by just clicking on this. If I had 2 points there, it would give me an option asking what point do you want to select. And since it doesn't do that, it's all just one point there, and those 2 points were merged into one. Okay, next thing we need to do is on the left side, it wants us to add a sidewalk with outer buffer. So I'm going to go ahead and close down the curb and gutter. I'm going to slide down to my sidewalk section. I'm going to pick the bottom option here, sidewalk with outer buffer. And I'm going to drag it out there, and you can see that I still have the mirror turned on. So I need to right click. Again, as soon as you right click, you can let go of the mouse. I'm going to turn off mirror. And the other thing I need to do is I need to reflect this thing, because it's pointing the wrong way, because the sidewalk needs to be right up on the curb and gutter. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click again. I'm going to hit reflect. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to just drop it right on the top of the curb and gutter. Okay. On the right side, we don't need a sidewalk, we just need a berm out there. So I'm going to close down my sidewalk area. I'm going to go into berm, and there's the berm, and I'm going to bring it on out, and I'm going to, again, I need to right click, I need to turn off the reflect, and I just need to bring it and put it right on top of the curb and gutter as well, just like this here. Okay. So now we're done with basically the components section of the template. Now we're going to add in our end conditions. So I'm going to go to end conditions. I'm going to go to ditch. I need to bring out the ditch 1 component. I'm going to bring that on out. And I can't do a mirror anymore, because if I try to mirror and I click too quickly there, I'm going to bring it out again, ditch 1. If I try to mirror, you'll see that the left and right side are at different points now. They're not symmetrical anymore, so I can't do the mirror. So I'm going to turn mirror off. I'm going to do the right side first. And again, I'm going to bring the ditch out again. I'm going to reflect it and do the left side next. Okay. The other end condition I need to bring out is a fill slope combined. And so I'm going to go down to fill slope combined, out of my ditch folder, go down to fill slopes, and slide down to fill slope combined. I'm going to drag that one out. I'm going to do the left side first. I'm going to do the right side by turning off the reflect and just snapping it onto that point there. Now, one other thing we got to do before we test this thing, I need to remove all the common components, and so I got 2 here. I got this one here. I need to merge the components together, and this one here, merge the components together. Okay. So now I'm ready to test. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to use my active terrain at a 0% slope, and you can see when I get up into the ditch, I get a ditch going here, or actually a fill part of the ditch, but I still got something that's not quite right. You can see that the ditch is drawing, but it's acting like a fill slope until it gets down to here, and then the ditch kicks in, and that's not what I want to happen here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go edit my end conditions before I close out of it, or before I totally finalize this template, and I'm going to go into this ditch point here, because I don't think it's doing what it should do. I think this, if I go in there, you can see that it's checking for interception. And typically we want the ditch to draw all the way down to the bottom of the ditch. So I'm going to take off check for interception. And then I'm also going to go over to this one and do the same thing. Turn off check for interception. And now I'm going to go ahead and test this template one more time just to see if it's working better now. So now when I'm in a situation like this, if I'm above the template, it's doing a ditch. If I come down and get past that break point, it's still doing a ditch. And then once I get down past the flat bottom ditch, it draws the fill slope combined, which is what I want. So So there was one little mistake in the ditch that I had to fix, but not a big deal. What I'll have to do is fix that in the MoDOT library, because that ditch should not be doing that kind of functionality. So hopefully when you run this exercise on your own, you won't see that issue on your ditch. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down. And the last thing I need to do is just do a file save to save my changes into this local ITL file.